Hey, did you know that the Torture Pod has merch? Yeah. Over at redbubble.com/people/torturepod, we have a whole bunch of different items that you can wear, adorn on your phone or your computer or your car to show your love for torture. We have Brazen Bull t-shirts. You can have the torture logo on a mug. Guild Array on Hat Day on a hat, if that's what you choose. Welcome to Latumba shower curtains. I mean, literally, anything you want. iPhone cases with sort your fucking life out on them. I mean, how much better does it get? And remember, all Pride merch sold, profits go directly to the Trevor Project. So you're also helping people in the process of showing your love for the podcast. So go to redbubble.com/people/torturepod. And as all the kids these days say, get your fit on, bro. I don't know if that's what they say or not. I'm not cool. The subject of today's episode is one of the most depraved moments in modern history. In a time of restructuring and class warfare in Soviet Russia, an experiment would be tested out in the frigid cold of Siberia on some of the weakest and on some of the most dangerous the USSR had to spare. From quite possibly the second worst train ride you could be on in 1933, to a river cruise from hell and ending on a small, all but useless island, you'll find out how far people will go to survive and how immoral a person can get. Through the absolute failure of resettlement and complete unpreparedness of the Communist Party and their secret police, we'll see how thousands can die in some of the most horrific and painful ways possible. And it only takes about 5 weeks. Known as Cannibal Island to some and the Island of Death to others, today we give you the horror story that is Nazino Island. I'm Kevin Young.
And I am Sex Bot.
And then he just freezes there. I thought you were going to say something like, I am Frank Drebin.
No. This
This
torture.
is torture. Having some fun with the AI before we came on.
Yeah. I created an image, which I'm going to send to you now.
Yes.
It's just fucking ridiculous. Apparently I'm old. You're younger than me, according to this.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice. Except it doesn't look like either one of us.
No, like, I don't know who the fucking hell I'm supposed to look like. I look a bit like that guy from Arrested Development.
Like yeah, so you look a little bit like David Cross.
Is that who it is? David Cross?
Yeah. And I look like some fucking...
Yeah, David Cross, exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're kind of like a bit like your man from Mystery Quest. But
are we doing stand-up? I mean, are we doing a bit?
We're doing a live show. A live show of torture. We're demonstrating how the guillotine worked, apparently. So
we'll show you how the guillotine works, and you stick your head in.
yeah.
Like this, and pull the cord. Oh God, that reminds me of a story. So I'm at my old job, and my boss from there, he used to work at a sheet metal plant, and a guy had stuck his fingers in one of the knives and accidentally took off 2 of his fingers with it.
Nice. Wonderful.
So, end of story. Pretty funny. So he's telling us, he goes, so the guy takes, we grab the fingers, rush to the hospital, get him reattached. He goes through all the rehab, gets him working again, all that great stuff. So when he comes back, we have to have a meeting with him, to find out exactly what happened. So we take him down to the machine, and we say, okay, we need to know exactly what happened for, whatever. And the guy sticks his fingers back in where he had them before. He goes, I just did this. Sticks his fan in and then hits the button and chops them back off. Oh, God.
It takes a fair amount to
yeah.
to shock sex robot here. Consider me shocked.
Said he just had a look of horror on his face. It's like, yeah, he just cut his fingers off on purpose.
What an idiot.
Oh, fuck. I don't know if he thought maybe that the machine had been powered down or something, because they probably should have been.
Yeah.
It was like, show us exactly what happened. He's probably, oh, yeah, it's powered down.
That's very like The Simpsons, where Homer has his hand caught in the vending machine, and it's like he could just let go of the can.
Yeah.
Just boom. That's that level of idiocy right there. People.
Jesus Christ. Good times. Good times. For all of you who are watching and not listening, you might notice that Dan's covered up a little bit. Oh, there he is.
1 second. Yes, my dear. Yeah. That's strange. Hold on. A fire engine just showed up outside the house.
All right, go ahead. Take care of what you need to take care of.
What the fuck? The fucking alarm company called the fire brigade told them that our house is on fire, and the alarm went off, as you heard, for like a second, and it came up saying smoke detected. It came up saying no smoke detected, and turned itself off. So she's on the phone to them now, trying to find out what the hell's going on.
Oh, shit.
The poor lad's arriving up here, and your man's walking up. He's like, "Well, your house isn't on fire." I'm like, no.
Well, there's somebody in the truck that's like, God, wouldn't it be great if we just get there and it's like a false alarm? God damn it, I don't want to fight a fire today. It just made his day.
Yep, pretty much.
Of course, then there's somebody else on the truck going, I hope the whole fucking place is burnt down to the ground. I hope somebody died.
Pyro bastards.
Yeah. So you're going to have one really disappointed person and one really happy person.
Yeah.
Just, no matter what happens.
Oh, God. I'll just put a sign up outside now and just be like, we are okay. My fucking cable. Cable from my earphones got wrapped around it. Fucking thing of my seat. But yeah. Anyway, right, so fucking drama. So what are we doing today?
It's always a good time on the Chat GPT seldom recognized torture podcast.
That's it. Fucking hell.
Oh, fuck. Good times. Well, I was going to ask ridiculous. How everything was going over there, but I guess
it's a little hot here at the moment.
Why am I sweating?
Yeah.
Where's all this smoke coming from? Where'd they go? Get them back.
Oh, God. Worst thing is, I guarantee you could have a cigarette underneath that thing. You wouldn't even set the fucking thing off. But
really? Nice. So we had to take the batteries out of half of ours because we don't have proper ventilation in our kitchen. The hood over the stove stopped working. So anytime there's a little bit of, smoke or fumes or whatever from cooking something, I mean, they just... I was like, okay, yeah, we're going to just turn those off. If we die in our sleep from a fire, then it'll be fine as long as I'm not annoyed while I'm cooking.
That's all that matters.
Yeah. I don't know. I was saying it for everybody who's watching and not listening. You're a little covered up today.
Yeah.
He's worried he's going to give me COVID through the computer. he's just being polite.
No, what actually happened is I had surgery and I can't control my nasal passages right now as a result of it. It's like it's kind of like just not non-stop, but yeah. It's to save anybody who's watching and Kevin from having to view anything that may be not nice to look at.
It's totally just Ernest scared stupid underneath that thing.
Probably.
Right now, or he kisses the troll.
More than likely. And there's nothing I can do about it.
It will make it easier to edit the video, because now I don't have to worry about making sure that the audio and the video for your voice is synced up.
I just go like this. Every time I talk, I'll just move my hand like this.
I'll put the puppet on. I'll put the puppet that I made.
Hello.
There you go. Donald Duck it. Until you get shot, then it goes around to the back of your head. Oh, we like to have fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lots of fun.
Everything's, yeah.
Yeah, we're still alive anyway.
Good. Good. No fires.
That's the important thing. No fires. No, thankfully. It's like last podcast, as soon as we started, something fucking stupid happened as well.
Yeah. It's been a hectic few times.
Yeah.
It's good to know that you're paying all that money for emergency service that is just not doing.
Well.
I mean,
I have a funny feeling they won't show up the next time.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Now my house really is on fire and you didn't show up.
So we thought it was a false alarm again, sir.
Yeah.
Hello, there's the mouse. Right.
Tell you what, that kitten's getting big. Jesus Christ. Just growing like a fucking weed.
Well, ours started to grow and then just stopped immediately. So, like, as long as yours doesn't happen, because this little one's just overrun.
You know what what's been weird, and this is cat talk with Dan and Kevin, by the way, is that
welcome to Cat Talk.
Play some soothing music, and then all of a sudden something gets knocked off the counter.
Yeah.
So we had before the kitten, we had the three cats: Gezi, Wheezy, and Loki. And Gezi and Wheezy both died. We've talked about that. And Loki was always really small, much smaller than the other two. But since they're gone, she has grown, not just gotten like fat, grown as in like taller and longer. She is bigger now than what she was.
What?
It's fucking weird. And I'm not talking by like a little bit. I'm like significantly. Because before she'd be able to like get up on a chair and there'd be all this room she could like roll around on it and she, she'd have plenty of room, but now she does that and she like almost falls off because she's so much bigger. It's the weirdest fucking
Maybe your chair's gotten smaller.
maybe our chairs. Maybe we got their wood. Maybe we got them wet and they shrunk down.
That's it. Somebody's sneaking in every night and swapping out your furniture for just getting slightly smaller, incrementally smaller.
Because I had noticed it for like the first. It didn't happen. It might. I mean, the kitten might have something to do with it. I don't know if it's a evolutionary thing where there's another cat comes around and they got to get big. I don't know. It's fucking weird. If anybody out there knows anything about this, please email torturepod@gmail.com and let us know.
My cat got bigger. My cat got bigger. That's the next. That's your next children's book.
ChatGPT. This
my cat
pussy
got bigger.
Be huge. This pussy be huge now. What's up? It's the weirdest fucking thing, man.
My cat suddenly got bigger. You've gotten your cat fat, according to Google. So
it's not, but it's not. She's not. I mean, she's put on a little bit more weight because she is eating more, I guess, and that could have something to do with it. But even like we noticed it at different times. I was noticing it, but I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want Stephanie to think I was fucking crazy. And then she all of a sudden one day goes, "Is Loki bigger?" I was like, yes, my God, yes, she's huge now. I mean, she's not huge, but she's the size of an average cat now. And before, she wasn't. She was always the size of an adolescent cat. Like, probably like like 6 months from being full grown. You know, that type of look.
Yeah.
And now she looks like a full grown. She's all filled out.
Fuck. Sorry,
I don't know if it's because she gets to eat more. I don't know if it's because she gets to eat more because the other cats are gone or what's going on. But she hasn't gotten fat. She's just filled out more, and she looks longer and taller. It's fucking weird, man.
Well, I'm after looking up here. Somebody's after putting up a thing before saying, my cat has grown too long. Best ways to shorten cat. Lots of squishes and boops, apparently, is the number one recommended. Must apply boops daily.
Boops. Right to the nose. Yeah. Gently at first. Harder.
Yeah. Somebody says compress using WinRAR. Oh, brilliant.
Oh, fuck. Oh, we need to get into this. But I do want to kind of do like a side thing where you and I do those Reddit Am I the Asshole?
Oh, yeah.
Because I think that one of us, I think we would have a pretty good take on some of those stories.
Let's forget about this episode. Let's just do this.
Yeah, let's just not do this. Nobody gives a fuck about Nazino Island and the incredibly horrible.
I don't even know what we're doing. Was it Nazino?
I just told you, Nazino.
Hey, man.
Like 3 times.
Nazino Island.
It's best you don't look anything up.
Okay.
All right.
Won't be any input from me then for what you call it right now.
Oh yeah. You can look up pop culture. Well, we talked about it a little bit on the end of the show for those patrons who have listened to that a little bit at the end of last episode, but that was so long ago because it's been a while since we recorded because I just procrastinate and I don't get around to stuff I should do. It's all my fault, really.
Shut up. Shit happens.
It's that joke of tomorrow is Procrastination Awareness Day. It was going to be today, but yeah, we just didn't.
Fuck it down straight.
All right, Dan. Let's take you back to
always the best day.
July 1933 in Siberia, Russia, on the Ob River, about 500 miles north of Tomsk, to a small, swampy river island. You are a member of the West Siberian Krai Party Control Commission named Vasily Velichko, and you have been tasked with investigating a recent resettlement experiment that has failed spectacularly. Shortly after arriving on the 3-kilometer-long patch of land, you begin noticing several rotting bags of flour strewn along the shoreline and hidden in the long grass.
What kind of flour? However, is this good shit, 00 stuff?
I would imagine it's probably just all-purpose. Probably non-bleached.
Classic Russian flour.
Your classic Russian potato flour. Maybe.
Okay.
However,
the motherland shall provide.
The whitest flour you can get is Russian flour, non-bleached. However, you know that the overwhelming odor that you smell isn't coming from wet, moldy flour. That is the smell of death. Now, it doesn't take long before you find what you've been hearing from witnesses from the nearby towns and the guards on the island. Quote, upon arrival at the island, we found shallow graves already exposed by rain and wind. In several places, corpses lay scattered, half covered by sand, half covered by sand, limbs jutting out at odd angles. The skin blackened by sun and flies. Some had been whitened by flour. Some had been gnawed down to the bone. In one crude lean-to made of branches, I found a pile of bones, some with flesh still clinging. One skull was cracked open. Locals who had to pick berries said the ground had started to stink weeks ago.
Nice.
This was the aftermath of the horror show on Nazino Island. It's gonna get.
I love a good cold opening that opens at the end. Just swipe 12 hours earlier.
Yeah. I try.
I just want to find out how the flower got there. That's what we're all here for.
Oh, you're going to find out how the flower got there. You're going to find out. And I'm going to have some questions for you along the way.
And that's going to be a big twist that it was like the sister's, uncle's, dog walker's boyfriend that did it all. He's been a patient here the whole time. That's what it is.
The butler did it. It was Mr. Body in the billiard room with the candlestick. Now let's go back a ways to find out how this absolute shit show could happen in the first place. And for that, we only really need to look at one man, Joseph Stalin. See, after the death of Lenin, oh, you're messing with your computer screen. It's like you keep going black.
Yeah, my fucking thing came up to do with a yoke on my yoke for updating. I was like, get rid of it. And it's after.
I thought your computer popped up. He was like, "You realize your house is on fire, right?"
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no, it's not. Let's call the fire department.
Basically, God damn it. Anyway, sorry.
That's fine. Now, see, after the death of Lenin in 1924, Stalin, who was the general secretary of the Communist Party, had began to consolidate power and became the absolute dictator of the Soviet Union by the 1930s. And it wasn't long before he would embark on a massive campaign to remake Soviet society. I'm not going to get super big into Joseph Stalin because I plan on covering him somewhere down the line because he was genuinely a horrible person and killed many of his own countrymen. But this is just
capitalism.
Exactly. Communism. And he did help us win
World War II. Even.
If it wasn't for Russia, World War II would have been much different.
If it wasn't for Russia, there's many things that would be very different right now. Kudos where kudos are earned and all that shit.
Yeah, that's true. Now, he envisioned the USSR as a modern, industrial, collectivized superpower capable of rivaling the West. To achieve this, he needed rapid industrialization, centralized state control over agriculture, and a loyal, ideologically pure population. This meant crushing dissidents, eliminating class enemies, and engineering society from the top down. You want your country to be completely loyal to you, you got to get rid of those people who aren't.
I mean, like Donald Trump has done?
No. Crunchy chicken taco. Have you heard that they're calling him Taco now?
No.
What? Yeah. And it's his buddies on Wall Street. The Republicans on social media keep saying, Democrats, how could you do this? How could you come up with this horrible name? And all this. I was like, dude, it was Wall Street bros that love him so much came up with the acronym TACO. Trump always chickens out.
Ha! Nice. I heard him inventing a new word, all right. I couldn't believe it. I was amazed when I heard his new word. I was like, how did we never think of that word before? And how is it that they have not made 3 movies starring Denzel Washington that involve that exact word in them? Like,
he's something else, isn't he?
God.
But yeah, no, they call people have been calling him Taco, say let's go Taco, all this because he had that let's go Brandon thing for Joe Biden for a long time. And I guess there's some burger joints down in Texas that are Trump burgers, and people have been calling in asking for the crispy chicken tacos.
Nice.
And they're like, we don't have any crispy chicken tacos. Said Taco Bell could do a wonderful thing right now. It'd be hilarious if they started serving Cheeto-dusted crunchy chicken tacos. It'd be fucking great.
Be the best tacos ever.
It'd be huge tacos.
Brilliant tacos.
Apparently the White House doctors are terrified because he is so irate and obsessed with this new nickname that they are genuinely afraid he's going to have a heart attack.
Afraid?
Well, sometimes good things happen.
Yeah.
We'll just have to see. It was like, well, then we're stuck with J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance doesn't have the charisma or the power to lead a cult like Donald Trump does. So I'm not worried about J.D. Vance. He's just a clown. Anyway, that's politics talk with Kevin and Dan. Let's get back to the horror show that is Nazino Island.
With politics about the Russian government.
Yeah, exactly. It's a different type of politics, yet similar. unfortunately. So Stalin launches an all-out class war, targeting those disloyal to the party, the homeless, beggars, petty criminals, anyone seen not contributing to socialist society, and kulaks, or peasants that were slightly more wealthy than the average farmer. He accused kulaks of hoarding grain during a famine and resisting collectivization. And these groups were labeled unreformable and needed to be removed and repurposed for the benefit of the state.
Damn straight.
The plan? Deport millions of these undesirables to remote, undeveloped regions of Siberia, Kazakhstan, and the Russian far north. Not to gulags, not yet, but to special settlements, where these communities of parasites could tame the wilderness, chop down trees, grow food, extract natural resources, and expand the Soviet frontier. Whether the people that were chosen for this work wanted to go or not didn't really matter. You'd go, or you'd be shot.
That's the Russian way.
That's the Russian way. Would you, sir, like to go to the great Russian north, to the frontiers, expand the Soviet experience, grow food, chop down trees? Not really. Do it anyway. How about I kill your entire
This is
family?
not a question, motherfucker. You know.
Be like, oh, I'm sorry, that's my fault. I made it act like you had a choice in the matter.
God, the Russians are crazy.
Yeah, a little bit. Now, the bare bones of this plan doesn't sound too outlandish, and I say that as sensitively as I can because it does sound outlandish. But in essence, you're taking those who weren't contributing to the betterment of society and you put them to work, all other caveats aside. I guess it would be different if it was like prisoners. You're taking, okay, here's going to be your new work. We're going to take you out. You're going to clear all this land, going to plant crops. We're going to pay you a decent wage for it. Then I could see it being, okay, they're putting them to work. They're getting paid. They're getting out. It's time some type of reform. That's fine. Not what was happening. These people weren't getting paid. They were getting thrown literally to the wolves.
But look, you don't conform. That's what happens to people.
Yeah,
you know,
that's what happens.
You don't want to do what the motherland needs from you. Sorry. But
time and time again, we've talked about on this podcast, if you're not going to reform, and bad things are going to happen to you. I don't know why you haven't learned yet. But the project was doomed to fail from the beginning, mostly due to horrible planning. And isn't that what it always is? Just horrible fucking planning. I mean...
Yeah,
I think most things can be broken down to not somebody. They didn't hire a nerd to do the logistics.
I learned that as well about World War II was very similar as well with Hitler, with what happened with him, and it's always a case of here's what I want to do, this is what we're doing, and you could have people sitting there kind of going, "Hey, look, boss, not sure if this is a bang, get the fuck."
Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions? So,
when your ego is so huge and yet fragile at the same time, and you're not willing to take advice or listen to the people who know more than you, it leads to bad things happening. So first, there was no infrastructure prepared in advance. No homes, no cabins, no lean-tos, not even tents for the deportees to find shelter from the harsh Russian weather. No hospitals or even any centralized medical center for the sick and infirm to get the help they needed. And they couldn't build any either when they got to where they were going because they were sent with no supplies, no tools, and very little food.
Yeah, but they're Russians. They're fucking hard. You know.
But this... Okay,
you know, they get sick, they spit on it and just go, yes, let's go. Look. Get me some borscht.
Get vodka. Put vodka on it, like goose and squirrel. The local officials were underinformed, underfunded, and unprepared to receive thousands of people out of nowhere. And to get to what you were talking about before about Russians being hard. Don't forget, most of these deportees were usually city dwellers, elderly, and sick that had no survival skills to live in the extreme wilderness of northern Russia. Most people who live in the cities do not have the survival skills, even in Russia, to live in the frigid weather of Siberia.
That sounds like a them problem, right?
I grew up in Moscow. I don't know about chopping down trees and planting crops. Sounds like you need to learn, comrade.
Here, fight, bear.
In Russia, crops plant you. But yeah, like I know I went. The church I went to had a thing like the Boy Scouts, but it wasn't the Boy Scouts. But we learned a lot of survival skills and all that shit. Like, I could go out to the regular woods and survive okay for a while. But if you were to drop me in the middle of Siberia in fucking spring, I would die. All right? And I think 90% of people, even Russians, would probably die. This isn't like a town in Siberia where you get to go inside and try to warm up. You are literally in the wilderness with nothing.
Yeah.
So, clothes on your backs. Now
they'll do fine.
They'll be all right. I'll sleep fine tonight. I'm not worried about it. Now, the secret police, known as, now here we go, the Objedinonnye Gosudorstvananye Politikshikoye Upravlenie.
Or shortened to Police Cup.
Or the OGPU. It's the Unified State Political Directorate in English. The precursor to the NKVD and the KGB. From now on, we will just call them the OGPU. I actually asked, so we've used ChatGPT quite a lot for research and stuff like that. And yes, we always search for our sources. I said, what does OGPU stand for? And it gave me this long name, like Alan Tudyk says in Transformers, of all the letters, all the buttons on a calculator you never use.
Nice.
That's what it looked like. I said,
nothing but backwards
how do you pronounce it? How do you pronounce it? And they go, sure, we'd love to pronounce it for you. So O as in O, G as in G. I'm like, not how do you pronounce OGPU? How do you pronounce the name, you fuckwad? It gave me a pronunciation of OGPU. It's like, Jesus Christ.
That's just ridiculous.
Now the
shame on you, ChatGPT.
Now, the OGPU were tasked with a quota-based purge and started arresting anyone without internal passports, unemployed, homeless, etc., in street sweeps, train stations, markets, and slums. Yeah, you can go back to our necklacing episode and see how in South Africa they had the internal passports where mostly black citizens, or not even citizens at that point, had to use an internal passport to go from one part of the country to another. Same thing. They were trying to keep people in their place with internal passports. Most people, unless you were incredibly wealthy, could not get them. So, it's just the way it was.
And there's only about two incredibly wealthy people in the entirety of Russia at that stage. So,
yeah, Stalin and whoever's making his vodka.
Yeah, and something rich.
Now, they would be taken to makeshift detention centers, pretty much just warehouses or garages, leaving thousands at any of these places with no sanitation, food, or water, and left to sleep on the cold concrete floors. Now, around 6,000 of these deportees were selected to be sent to Tomsk, a city in western Siberia that was serving as a hub for resettlement. And the journey to Tomsk is almost bad enough for its own episode. The elements, as the people would be called, were loaded onto freight trains about 100 to 120 per car. They were given pretty much no food or water, just a small amount of bread at the very beginning of the trip that was to last them the entire journey. And this train ride would last anywhere from 4 to 12 days.
Nice.
And it was literally giving you a couple pieces of bread, and they'd be like, make it last.
Yeah. Loaves and fishes. Loaves and fishes.
Now, disease, lice, dysentery, typhus, all spread rapidly. And the people that died en route were either buried in shallow graves at intermittent stops along the way or simply dropped off the train. So this is something that you need to realize about these people, the disease, lice, dysentery, typhus. These people were already emaciated, already starving by the time they got on the train. This was not we picked you up, put you in a detention center overnight, put you on a train, sent you there. These people would wait at these detention centers for days, if not weeks, before they were decided what was going to happen to them. And the entire time they're in these little prisons, they're not really being fed any more than maybe a couple pieces of bread every few days. So many of these people were, and they were already sick, elderly, children, homeless. A lot of them were already on the, going out stage of life before all this happened. So people were dying left and right on these train cars. Not to mention the fact that people were being murdered on the train cars. It wasn't just disease that were taking these people out. There are very, very bad people because they didn't just round up the sick and the homeless. They also rounded up the fucking petty criminals and some who weren't so petty, gang members, all that, to get them out. There were very dangerous people on this train, and that will be a problem later, even more than it is at that point.
It's like Russian Snowpiercer.
Yeah, because people had valuables on it. It wasn't something where they'd pick somebody up, strip them down, take all their things, give them, take their name and their give them a number, take their name, know exactly who they are, give them a uniform or whatever. It was, we pick you up off the street and we throw you in a detention center with everything that you have on you. So people had cash, they had jewelry, they had stuff on them. You look ridiculous.
Yeah. It's like Riddler from the latest Batman thing with
kind of face. Yeah. So it's gonna get bad. The head of the Siebling, the Siberian branch of the Gulag, reported to Moscow, quote, "They consist in the immense majority of individuals who have lost a great deal of weight and are suffering from acute gastrointestinal problems. We have already seen a certain number of cases of typhus. On the way, the contingents rarely received any hot meals. There was no boiled water. There was no boiled vodka. At the impartation points, the contingents were not subject to thorough hygienic measures, which explains the enormous parasite and lice infestation in which they arrived. They arrived in Tomsk in an advanced state of emaciation. Of the deportees put on the convoy that arrived in Tomsk on May 6th, coming from Kusheveka, 80% were already emaciated when they got on the train. Half the people who arrived at the destination point in the previously mentioned convoy looked like semi-cadavers, and the vast majority of them had to be immediately hospitalized. So it's already bad. It's already really fucking bad.
And they're only on their way there.
Yeah, this is just and this is a short part of it. The trip there, now this wasn't completely because the Russian government was trying to be cruel. Remember, they wanted these people to thrive in the most unhospitable areas on Earth to advance the Soviet frontier. And usually if you want to do that, you make sure the people are taken care of. The problem was the people running this little experiment were, well, incompetent is the only word I can really think to use. The local authorities in Tomsk had absolutely no plan on how to receive or care for the thousands of people that came off those trains. The city was completely overwhelmed. It hadn't enough food or shelter. So the officials for the OGPU decided to ship the excess further north on barges up the Ob River. 5,000 deportees were loaded up and sent to the Alexandrovsky district deep in Siberia, about 500 miles on a barge. Not a boat.
Nice.
A wooden barge. And the 5,000 were loaded into the bottom of the barge, rarely let up on top for fresh air, and only given meager rations of bread to eat. And this trip takes a few days. 500 miles on a very slow-moving barge upriver takes a while. The smell. The smell.
No, I don't want to imagine. Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much.
Now, they couldn't just drop all these undesirable elements into a city. I had wondered that myself. Like, well, why didn't they just leave them areas? Why didn't they just leave them in one of the cities? Many of these deportees were either criminals or homeless that would easily hide out and not be caught again. Are you still there?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Fair enough.
Had to powder my nose.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. It's like, where did I just see Liam Neeson's glorious legs? Now, many of the deportees were either criminals or homeless that would easily hide out and not be caught again. So the OGPU had to find a more isolated place to temporarily stage the almost 5,000 people. And the number is kind of, it jumps around from like 5,000 people now to, 6,700, almost 7,000 people later. So it was decided that they would be sent to a swampy 1.9 mile long by 600 meter wide island known as Nazino Island or Nazinsky. There's, depending on what you read, some of them call it Nazino Island because apparently there was a city there named Nazino and this island was named after it. And some people called it Nazinsky. Most of what I read called it Nazino, so we're going to go with Nazino. But if you hear somebody say something about Nazinsky, this is the island they're talking about. Now, the problem was that no one thought to first find out if this island was at all habitable for humans. Spoiler, it wasn't. Hey, there's a patch of land 500 miles north of here. I can see it from here, just a little dot. I'll just put them there. It's fine. They'll be all right. It's not that big a deal. There's got to be something there they can do. Amusement park or, racetrack or something they can entertain them.
Got a flower factory.
Flower factory. So on May 18th, 1933, between 4,500 and 5,000 people were deposited onto this cold, dreary, mostly flooded plot of land to wait it out. It was literally just, here you go, stand there, we'll be back later. As the boats just start circling the island, and the people on the boats just kind of watch. With no supplies, no tools, no real food. A few days later, another 1,200 were dropped off. Now, in all, 23 people died on the 3-day trip from either malnutrition, disease, or, like we had mentioned before, murder. Because, I'll get to why everybody's being murdered in a little bit. It's not good. Now, all the orders for this grand plan came directly from Moscow. And the officials in Tomsk, who had been told about the conditions of the island, immediately began begging for supplies and instructions, but received pretty much no help from Moscow, if you can believe it. We need so much. Can you please help us? You'll be okay.
Yeah. The motherland will provide.
Yes, pretty much. Pretty much.
Do you have stick? Eat stick.
The planners and you say that, and I don't really get into it on this, but yes, the deportees on the island actually did eat tree bark. They would pull bark off the trees and gnaw on it. Just for something. Like Grandma used to make. You've all heard us talk at nauseum about how much we love thebeardstruggle.com and to use our coupon code TORTURE19.
From the oils and balms to the growth kits and shampoos, we love us some Beard Struggle. And saving money with our code TORTURE19.
Well, now the Beard Struggle has a private VIP membership, the Viking Elite Black Card. It's composed of a community of beardsmen with access to exclusive deals, priority shipping, pricing, and perks with their premier partners.
You'll get year-round access to all special reserve and black collection scents, and get to take part in the decision-making, casting your vote for the scents they revive and join exclusive beta product testing to shape their upcoming launches.
Stand apart with their exclusive Black Card apparel and merchandise. Attend exclusive events and meetups around the globe.
Custom NFC functionality allows you to easily refer customers and earn commissions with a tap, and you could win monthly cash and product giveaways.
Extended money-back guarantee, free shipping insurance, and priority customer service with a dedicated line ensuring quicker response times and priority assistance.
Not to mention getting unmatched discounts on their partner brands.
Yeah, partners like Warg Fitness, Armorillo Coffee Beans,
Heathen Motors, Leviath Apparel,
Stone Cot Fine Writing Supplies, Alehorn, Motor City Axe,
Bearded Geek Crafts, Black Island Leather, and more.
Sign up for 1 month, 3 months, or a 1-year subscription. Cancel anytime.
But be quick, because only 1,000 worthy individuals will be able to get a card at a time.
Beardstruggle.com. Do what's right for your beard. Do what's right for your face.
Sort your fucking beard out.
Now, the planners in the capital didn't see any reason to help. They figured that the deportees, despite being exhausted, underfed, urban poor with no farming experience, would just start planting crops in the mud in the middle of May, when the average temperature is around 47 degrees Fahrenheit or 8 degrees Celsius.
And they also have no crops.
Get to that. Not ideal farming weather. In fact, on the very first night, 295 deportees froze to death in their sleep. Almost 300 people the very first night, dead.
Nice.
And to that point that you just made, Dan, on top of this, I never saw any evidence that they even had seeds with them to plant in the first place. Have them plant seeds. We have no seeds. Have them find seeds to plant. We have no seeds for them to plant.
You give them bread to plant, right? It's like, yeah, well, they ate that.
They take the seeds from the crops that they planted. They have nothing to... There were no crops that they planted, so there's no seeds. Well, that's where you get the seeds from. How are you going to get seeds? You plant no crops.
This is paradox.
It's very confusing. The motherland will provide. Yeah. And anyway, if they had seeds, they probably would have eaten them.
Yeah.
Seeds probably would have never made it to the island. They would have just eaten the fucking seeds. And that actually would have everything would have grown better, because then they would have shit on the ground. Hopefully they dug a hole first, but maybe not. And the seed would have actually been fertilized and maybe been able to grow into a shit cucumber or whatever you get.
A poo-cumber.
A poo-cumber. Yeah. I did not see that coming. Come on. Get with it, man.
Low-hanging fruit.
Oh, low-hanging vegetables.
Yeah.
Now, what many in the OGPU saw as an even bigger problem than supplies and instructions was how to keep almost 6,000 undesirables in line. The whole operation was rushed, and the OGPU didn't have nearly enough trained personnel to escort and control thousands of people in this kind of environment. So they decided to outsource the work. Dan, can you take a guess where they got the workers from? Who would go on to be the guards, the people who they would be guarding these people? Any idea where they might have got these people from?
The Gulag.
A gulag. Pretty fucking close.
Yeah.
They got criminals that were released from prison in exchange for service.
Nice.
Ex-convicts looking to escape gulag labor and poorly vetted local recruits who were often barely literate and as desperate as the deportees themselves. They would be given rifles and orders to keep people under control without oversight, proper supplies, or rules of engagement. This would lead to obvious problems.
And thus starts the movie Battle Royale.
Yeah, pretty much. It's pretty much. So what were you in for? I killed an entire family. You want a gun?
Yeah.
That's kind of, I mean, that's not too far off from what it was. Anybody in these prisons that wanted a job, get out of prison for a little bit, have a job, and, out of prison for exchange for service, they'd be given fucking weapons. They'd be given food to eat, put on these barges.
It's like, yeah, do you know your way around firearms? Well, there was this incident 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Statute limitation. It's okay.
I trust him. Seems like a good guy. Now, with the influx of guards, the number of people on the island would be well over 6,000. Some estimated around 6,700. And again, no housing, no shelter, no tools, no sanitation, no supplies. And in what is called one of the most horrifying microcosms of human collapse ever recorded, the island quickly, and when I say quickly, I mean within 2 or 3 days, descended into chaos. Now, Dan, you are a baker. You like to bake. In real life, you like to bake. It's a thing that you like to do. And I'm guessing at some point you've made bread.
Yeah.
Yeah. For all of us, I like to bake as well, but I've actually never made a loaf of actual bread. I've made like bread type things, but I've never actually made a loaf of bread. So if you could give us maybe the ingredients and the supplies you would need to make a loaf of bread.
Water, flour.
Okay, water,
yeast,
flour,
salt.
Yeast, salt.
Pretty much. We can make bread from that. Yeah.
Okay.
You can throw some other things in if you wanted to every now and again.
Sure. Well, I mean, just like the bare bones.
Oh, that'd be it. That'd be it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then what like supplies would you need? I'm guessing mixing bowls.
Yeah. And an oven.
Oven.
Heat source.
A heat source.
Yeah, that's pretty much all you need.
A loaf pan of some sort. And if you don't have an oven, you can always do it on a campfire. If you have like a Dutch oven or a cast iron skillet or something with a lid. I mean,
there's something to be able to physically cook it in. You can't just take a big lump of dough and throw it onto a physical fire. But yeah.
Right. Okay. Now, I've seen some of the things you've baked. They look really good. I imagine you're really good at improvising with it. So I'm gonna give you a new list of ingredients, and you tell me what you can make out of them. Okay. So flour.
Okay.
Let me rephrase that. Flour. That is what you get. You get flour. What can you do with flour? Is that something?
Look, technically, right, flour's flammable.
It is.
So you could create a heat source from it.
You could.
But then it's everything else that you need, so I don't know. A bomb.
So
that.
You can make a bomb. There you go.
Yeah.
Now,
as long as it's bone dry.
on the island was given 500 grams of flour a day to do with what they will. Yeah, that's over a pound of flour a day.
Yeah, the only thing you could do is mix it with water and have yourself a nice little paste.
So you really have only two choices. Of starvation isn't much of a choice. Eat raw flour, which comes with its own issues, mainly food poisoning, salmonella, E. coli, possible sepsis. Or, as Dan just said, mix the flour with water. However, the only water available to these deportees was the muddy, ice-cold water from the Ob, which was, at that time, the island was being surrounded by barges with guards and OGPU personnel.
Yeah.
And these were boats in the 1930s, probably made in the early 1900s, maybe late 1800s. I'm sure they are jettisoning diesel fuel into that river. This was the only water they had to
and
mix
was used
with
for
their
sanitation stuff as well.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Exactly. And this was the option that many chose, an option that led to almost immediate diarrhea and vomiting, with a drastic uptick in our old friend, dysentery. The water of the Ob is filled with parasites, especially around these parts, because there weren't like a bunch of animals there, but there were some rodents running around or something. Very few, but the water's not clean.
Would not expect it to be.
Yeah. So that is what they're taking their hats, or they're making little divots in the ground, filling it with their pound of flour and however much water they want, mixing it up and eating the paste.
They didn't make bread. They made dead. Dun, dun, dun.
That is their only food source for a long time. And after a while, the flour wasn't so much as handed out as it was dumped on the shore from the barge, and the people would fight to reach it. And if you took more than you should, or caught stealing it, you would be beaten or shot. And it would seem that at least some of those in charge not only didn't care that thousands were starving, but reveled in it, like OGPU Commander Suleimanov would, quote, beat special settlers with a stick and use them as oarmen when he went fishing, behaved inappropriately with regard to individuals who were starving. And in front of starving deportees awaiting their meager rations of flour, he ostentatiously ate huge quantities of sugar, to the point that, as he himself said, he completely lost his taste for it. So, yeah. They were only given the barges, the OGPU barges, had plenty of food.
Yeah.
They were eating fine. They had meats and sugars, and they would go fishing, and they'd catch fish in the open. They were fine. They just didn't want to share.
Of course not.
So, no.
Sure, why not? They're still waiting for the motherland to provide. That's all it is.
Somebody just up there just eating like a steak and some bread. Be like, these people should really eat more. They're looking sick. Oh, hey, you got flour.
What's your problem?
Hey, you, do something with it. Do something with it. Make some bread. I have no oven. You don't need an oven. Make some bread. I have no salt. I have no sugar. I have no clean water. Do something with it. Go on, do something. And if this wasn't all bad enough, now came the real problem. Oh, you thought this was the problem already? No. It gets worse. The issue that arises when you put a bunch of criminals and ex-cons together in one area is that they begin to form gangs.
What?
Violent gangs. Yes, if you didn't know. Anybody who's never watched a show about prisons on TV, yes, gangs naturally form. And gangs have a tendency to see a situation where people are in need of a finite resource and find a way to exploit it. That's exactly what they did. The flour would be taken and hoarded. The clothes would be stolen off people's bodies. Even the fillings taken out of people's mouths.
We're a gang called the Flower Girls, because that'd be brilliant. Hey, we're Flower Girls. Get out of here. Move.
Yeah, for some reason there in Russia, there's just one gang. They all have New Jersey accents.
Yeah.
What you doing here?
Yeah.
Hey,
They're wearing leather jackets and shit. You know,
greasers, just brushing the hair back. Got cigarettes rolled up in the sleeve. You want to race for pinks? Hey, oh.
First you get the flower, then you get the power, then you get the women.
Oh, fuck. It didn't take any time before the women and girls would be abducted, raped, and traded like currency for food, clothing, and protection. Yes, it got very serious. Very quickly.
Taking all the fun out of it now.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of my thing.
God damn it.
Yeah.
Let's go back to dysentery.
And as for the guards, many of them decided it would just be easier to join or at least align themselves with the gangs. So people would just start selling their wives and daughters to these gangs or to these guards for food, for better clothing, because people were having their shoes taken from them. There's people walking around in the frigid Siberian spring with no shoes on. I mean,
should have made some out of flour water paste.
Yeah, get some of those flour bags that make yourself shoes, but they'd probably be stolen. The guards and the gangs were working together. The guards would give the gangs real food, and then people would trade their wives and daughters, or some women would trade themselves just for a little bit of that food. And I'm talking like a slice of bread. They would give up everything for just the most meager amount of nourishment. Or clothing, coats, because you got to remember, they are still wearing what they were wearing weeks ago when they were first picked up.
Yeah.
And these clothes are probably not in the best condition. So many people decided that maybe it's time to make an escape. And you would think with no supplies or tools in the middle of a freezing cold river, escape would be pretty much impossible. So did the OGPU. One official said, quote, "We didn't think anyone could escape from the island of Nazino. The current was very strong, the water was freezing cold, and the river was several kilometers wide. Without tools, they couldn't build a boat. But a certain number of criminals and D-Class A elements showed great ingenuity by tying large, dry branches together. They were able to make a sort of primitive raft that could carry 3 or 4 people. Then they let the current carry them along. A persistent rumor was going around to the effect that about 60 kilometers downstream there was a railway line that would enable them to get back to Novosibirsk. Naturally, the fugitives had very little chance of surviving. Most of them drowned or died of hunger. We found, for dozens of kilometers downstream, hundreds of bodies that had washed up on the banks of the Ob." I mean,
you didn't get very far.
You tried. I think I'd probably rather try than just stay there and either be murdered or die from sickness and malnutrition.
Yeah. So I'm sick of these goddamn flower shoes. Get out of here. It's raining out. At least that'll put out the fire in the house now.
Oh, good. Now you won't have to worry about your house burning down. It's raining in Ireland. Call the dude. Others that had tried to escape were either shot by guards from the shore, or if they actually made it to the mainland alive, were hunted down and returned. Many times by tying them to a log and floating them back up the river as a warning to others. Survivors of Nazino had described guards forcing escapees to dig their own graves.
Not to shoot me.
And for one, they have no supplies, so they're digging graves with their hands. 2, they have no energy to do this with, because they haven't eaten and they just tried to escape. They're spent.
Yeah, they spent most of their energy shitting themselves. That's stage 2. So
now
God,
this
them
brings
poor
us
bastards.
this brings us to about day 10.
Hour 2.
We're about a week and a half into this. And this is when it slid quickly into madness. I mean, it just went it went from really, really bad to all of a sudden as bad as it could fucking get. Because with the starvation and desperation, it led to cannibalism.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, here
all
we go.
roads lead to
Now
cannibalism.
is the juicy stuff. And it wasn't some slow slide in depravity. It wasn't, well, there are these dead bodies laying around. Maybe we should try. And then back and forth for days if people weighed on the moral implications of eating flesh. It was more, oh, did you see Steve was eating Terry? Oh, that sounds a good idea. We should do that.
I had some of Terry last week.
I had a little bit of Terry a little while ago. You're great with a spicy mustard. And the next thing you know, the meat was being pulled from people's bones. One OGPU guard said, quote, "We shot escapees. We couldn't stop them all. Some of the men had started eating corpses. Then we saw them start hunting the sick. After that, it became common. And it wouldn't take long before it wasn't just the dead that would be consumed. Anyone that was slow and weak, the elderly, children, sick, and especially women. There were a lot more men than there were women, but the women were the ones who were primarily hunted down the most. You look like you have a weird hairstyle because of Liam Neeson's head behind you, Dan. It's just one tuft of hair going up the side of your head.
My new comb under.
Yeah.
I can't figure out which way my head's going.
Yeah. One survivor said, quote, "At night you could hear screaming. They were cutting people up. One girl ran naked across the camp, her buttocks sliced off. She screamed until she collapsed. I don't think she even died right away." Another said, quote, "I saw a man hold down a child and cut meat from her thigh. The girl was still alive. He said it was easier when they were alive. The meat was softer."
What? How does he know
the
that?
second you die, the rigor mortis will start to set in. I imagine
true.
the meat starts to get a little harder. But plus bacteria starts to move in more, and that's why you don't eat roadkill. Or you shouldn't eat roadkill, because it's probably been dead for a while.
Note taken.
One peasant... God damn it, I knew I shouldn't have been doing that. One peasant woman that had lived in the region at the time said, quote, "There was a guard named Kostya Venkov, a young fellow. He was courting a pretty girl who had been sent there. He protected her. One day he had to be away for a while, and he told one of his comrades, take care of her. But with all the people there, the comrade couldn't do much. People caught the girl, tied her to a poplar tree, cut off her breasts, her muscles, everything they could eat. Everything. Everything. They were hungry. They had to eat. When Kostya came back, she was still alive. He tried to save her, but she had lost too much blood. She died. When you went along the island, you saw flesh wrapped in rags, human flesh that had been cut and hung in trees. I heard that when people on the island saw Ikem Ivanovich, the doctor, pass by, they said, there's one that would be good to eat, fat as he is." So every once in a while, they'd bring a doctor in to check people out. Not that they could or would do anything, because most of these people were too far gone anyway.
Yeah. Fuck that.
Yeah. It got to the point where they couldn't take people onto the island because they would. It's like if you ever walked into a house that had like fleas in it, you would automatically get attacked. Same type of thing. One young lady had her legs hacked off while alive. They apparently wanted to eat her but not kill her right away so the meat would stay fresh. And one criminal named Uglov said, quote, "I picked those who were not quite living but not quite dead yet. It was obvious that they were about to go, that in a day or two they'd give up, so it was easier for them that way. Now, quickly without suffering for another 2 or 3 days. See, he's doing you a favor.
Public service.
You just see this Russian motherfucker, just as Russian as they get. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Just Russian, walking up and being, listen, I know you're going to die, so I'm going to go ahead and kill you now. It's a then I will eat you. It's not something I want to do. It's something I need to do. For you. I do it for you because I care. Because the motherland has provided. So how did they devolve into such brutality so quickly? I mean, there's been stories for
It was
years.
lunchtime.
There you go. Doing them favor.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a sandwich with the raw flour, human meat, and raw flour. Can I get a tomato?
If you like make a club sandwich, chicken, lettuce, under buttocks. Yes.
I don't like the breast meat. Got too much nipple. So for forever, people have they've had to sort to eating other people. You look at the Donner Party. You look at the soccer team that was lost in South America from alive. But it wasn't like, oh well, this person's over. Let's just murder them and eat them. The majority of the time, it was these people died. Their body is frozen. We can cut strips off and eat them to survive. We'll never talk about it again. It's not something that most people want to go in and do willingly, and definitely not kill people just for their meat.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't help that they had populated the small island with convicted cannibals. These were people who were already eating other people. This wasn't like, I guess I could try this. This was, hey, you know what I did this one time? We should try that. Convicts who had resorted to cannibalism in gulags during the early 1930s famine years, offenders that had killed and eaten other inmates in transit or while imprisoned. An OGPU report said, quote, among the criminal elements were several individuals who had practiced cannibalism before Nazino. Their presence contributed to the rapid spread of such acts once hunger took hold. I don't want to say anything because I don't want to be that guy. But we could eat Charles over there. I'm just saying. I'm putting it out there. We're all thinking it. I'm saying it. I'll be the bad guy. It's just, he looks good.
Charles sitting there like...
And I would like to, Charles, do not look at me like that. You know what I'm talking about. You're going to die anyway. We might as well make it quick. I'm Uglov. I'm here to help.
Friendly neighborhood Russian.
That's right. The officials knew about the records and probably had them there for a reason. They probably saw them as useful muscle, used as kind of a violent enforcement like the NKVD did to control gulag populations.
Or natural selection as opposed to opening up the whole menu. For
something
people,
like that, sure.
Yeah.
All you people here, prisoners, not doing what you're told, here are the lions and wolves who will eat your face. Is pretty much, I mean, it's you releasing serial killers onto an island of people who can't defend themselves.
Yeah, it's mad.
And who aren't as evil to go murder somebody to eat them. So, and again, not a big island. It's only...
It wasn't a big idea either, was it, though? Like, it's just... it's just fucking ridiculous. The whole thing.
I mean, you have almost 7,000, not quite, like 6,700 people, 6,000 people, something like that, on an island that's only not even 2 miles long, 600 meters wide. You're crammed onto this place.
That's just insane.
There's nowhere to hide. It's not like there's a bunch of buildings you can go into or a forest. It's a pretty desolate. There's trees,
I'd love to see
but they're not like
a map of this.
Yeah. It was said that some were seen laughing as they dismembered corpses. One survivor, Maria Nikolaevna, described one such man, quote, "He was called Misha the Butcher and had done time before for cutting up a man. He didn't wait for hunger. He had a knife, and he used it as soon as we got off the boat." So,
Filthy bastards.
They're doing you got a Google.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it up, and I can't get.
That's a personal problem. But.
Yeah.
So all the ways that they died: the cannibalism, the murder, shot by guards, disease, drowning, malnutrition, froze to death. Some people burned to death because they were so cold they would sleep right up next to the fire, and in these tattered clothes that they've worn for weeks now that have gotten wet from the rain and snow and then dried off and then wet and then dried. It leaves them tattered, it leaves them rotten, and they go up in a fire like that. So, sleep next to a fire, you roll over a little too close, whole thing catches on fire. You don't have the energy to run or put yourself out. Many people would just lie there and burn.
Everybody gets a nice cooked meal then.
I suppose.
That's what separates us from the animals, Kevin.
I suppose. No, the animals would eat them too. Have you ever seen that show Yellow Jackets?
I haven't watched it yet. No, it's on our list.
It's so good. I know people have said some shit. I fucking love it. But that's how they delve into cannibalism is they set a pyre and burn somebody who died on it. And then the snow from up above them drops down and puts the fire out and cooks the meat perfectly.
Nice.
That old joke is when somebody's being cremated, there is at one point, sometime in that cremation, where the meat is cooked perfectly. Yeah. And there's one way that people died on the island that I didn't think about, but it makes sense when you work it out. They died of asphyxiation, not from people choking them or anything like that. Their lungs, diaphragm, and core muscles were so weak that when they would inhale the flour on accident, as you do when you're working with flour, you accidentally inhale some of it.
Yeah.
They didn't have the strength to cough it out. They would asphyxiate on flour. Not to mention all the flour that was already in their lungs, coating the inside of their lungs. They would also slowly die from lack of oxygen. Which, I mean, to just make it a little worse. First I have to worry about the weather. I have to worry about sickness. I have to worry about these people murdering me. And now this fucking flour's trying to kill me too. Flour's just down there like, hey, breathe me in, motherfucker.
Who knew the flour was a criminal in this the whole time?
The flour's the ringleader.
That's it.
Now, this would last
It's like torture bake-off.
Yeah, it's one of those cooking competitions with all the caveats in it where you have to stop and do something weird. It's like, all right, now everybody inhale the flour. Hold it. Now breathe.
Joseph, stop chewing on Thomas. Quickly. Get the bag of flour.
Get that out of your mouth. You don't know where it's been or where he's been or what he does with that.
Surprised they haven't started to tempura batter on these people's body parts yet. They have the flour. They have the water. They have flour and water. That's all you need to make tempura batter. Sorted.
Yeah. You could use the fat from the people and put it in. Well, there's no pan. All they have with their hats are holes.
There you go. Stick it in the hole. Fine.
Yes. Now, this would last until early to mid-June. Only about 5 weeks on this island, when the Soviet authorities, due to reports of the rapidly deteriorating situation and local complaints, began transferring survivors off the island. Can you imagine living this kind of horror for 5? Like we say, it was only 5 weeks, but that's a long
time. Yeah.
When you have people chasing you down to eat your ass, and not in the fun way that Dan likes on Wednesdays.
Tuesdays, actually, but anyway.
I keep getting that wrong.
Yeah.
Now, the locals could hear screaming from across the river. They could see the bodies. They could smell the bodies. And every once in a while, one would escape and get to the village, and the locals would take them in. A woman by the name of Theophila Bylina said that they...
Theophila Bylina?
Theophila Bylina.
What a fucking
That's a
name.
Real name.
Yeah.
That sounds like something like Brandon Sanderson would come up for fucking Stormlight Archive. Just some weird fucking... That's a J.R.R. Martin or George R.R. Martin name. Now, she said that...
I don't know. It's like a Marvel name. You know, like J. Jonah Jacobson, whatever, Jameson Jr.
I am the cannibal. They found a female prisoner that had come from, as they call it, the Island of Death. She brought her back to their house. She said, quote, "The woman was taken into the back room to spend the night, and I saw that her calves had been cut off. I asked, and she said, they did that to me on the Island of Death. Cut them off and cooked them. All the meat on her calves was cut away. Her legs were freezing because of this, and she wrapped them up with rags. She was able to move on her own. How? I don't fucking know, but apparently she was still able to walk."
That's fucked up.
Yeah.
My calf tasted nice, though. It was good.
They cut off my calves and ate them in front of me. They gave me a little bit. I'm not too bad. I don't mind. A little saltier than what they like, but I guess that goes into my personality, eh? Now, of the nearly 6,700 people on the island, only 2,200 survived. 67% of the prisoners died in those 5 weeks.
Jesus.
Yeah. And of those, only 300 were considered healthy and fit enough to work at another special settlement.
Like, that was the Flower Girls. That's what that was. We're good. Let's go. We're going to work.
Well, just imagine them coming up to you and be like, "Are you too sick to work? Do you need hospital, or should we send you to Gulag?" You're just like, "No, I'm pretty sick. Like, I probably need to go to a hospital." Yeah. What is that in between your teeth? That's Thomas. Don't worry about him.
Poor Thomas.
Poor Steve Cooper getting caught up on these fucking cannibals. Now,
this
this
island's not what I imagined it was.
No?
I'll show it to you now in 1 second.
Yeah.
I'll try to get an image to save.
All right. Now, many were able to flee during transfer. Those that survived went into nearby towns, broke into homes, stole food, raided collective farms, formed roaming gangs, and continued the violence and cannibalism. Locals were terrified of the Nazino people. The OGPU had to spend months hunting down these fugitives. So in July 1933, Vasily Velichko was sent to the island. Publicly, it was to document the extreme success of the special settlement and how Stalin's plan to expand the Soviet frontier and repurpose the undesirables was going off without a hitch. Privately, he was sent to see if the rumors and reports of mass death, cannibalism, administrative failure, and moral collapse was it all true.
So, you see under the word Nazino there, that's like a town. That Nazino bit there. So you see that river, a little bit of a river runs out into like a backwards sea, nearly.
Uh-huh.
I can't show, but anyway, it's like literally two rivers creating and coming off the main river there.
Yeah, you got the Ob, and then I believe that's the Nazino River that comes off.
Yeah, so that's that's the island, is that bit there that backwards sea creates underneath the word Nazino.
Yeah.
So I thought it was like an island right in the middle of the river, if you get me. But apparently that's the island.
But that makes it look a lot bigger than what it actually is. Because, again, it's only 2 miles long and 600 meters wide.
Yeah.
It's
And it's, looking at it on Google Maps, this one of these things is kind of prone to water taking over a good chunk of it too.
It's flooded constantly.
It could be any bit smaller at any given time.
Yeah.
You see, so...
Now, what he found, Vasily, almost immediately did in fact align with the reports from the locals and the OGPU. He spoke with locals, guards, and surviving deportees. He saw for himself the physical remnants of the tragedy: abandoned corpses, stick shelters, gnawed bones, 31 mass graves, each containing 50 to 70 bodies. The leftovers of small camps where the prisoners tried in vain to live out their days.
Excuse me. Sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Quote, "The flour sacks had long since rotted, spilled across the mud. Near one fire pit, we found scorched bone fragments and strips of what could only be human skin. There were no cooking implements, just hastily dug holes in the sand, where the prisoners had mixed flour with river water. That mixture turned foul quickly, and many died of dysentery. One guard admitted that he had found a woman tied to a tree. Her legs had been hacked off while she was still alive. The criminals had eaten her flesh. The guard said that he was powerless to stop it. They would have killed me too, he said. Others didn't try."
Now what's the point of your existence?
Yeah, that's why you're fucking there.
Yeah.
You have the gun, remember?
We're guards.
Do I have to do stuff? Well, here's your gun. Make sure they're not doing anything to one another. Well, they're hacking off that lady's legs. Do something about it. I don't want my legs hacked off. I think I'm just going to stay here on this barge. I mean, you have the gun. Use it.
We're barge guards.
Barge guards. Everywhere we looked, there were signs not just of death, but of desperation beyond comprehension. The strong preyed on the weak. People had been turned into meat. This was not a labor settlement. It was a mass grave in the making. Velichko wrote out an 11-page report describing the tragedy at Nazino, the death, cannibalism, the abuse by guards and criminals, the absolute failure of the resettlement plan. Quote, "It is clear that this entire operation was conducted without the most basic provisions for human survival. No housing, no food supply system, no medical support. It was doomed from the start." So he's saying bad things about.
There's nothing bad to say about this whole thing.
Not something you normally want to do. He submitted it to Moscow, and Moscow classified it immediately. It was taken with other OGPU reports and buried far away. There was no public outcry, no media coverage, and no accountability for those responsible. The deportation program quietly continued in other forms, but Nazino was never used again. Can you imagine if they used it again?
That'd
be
be
like,
mad.
"Oh, messed up a little first time, second time, it'll be okay. This time we send them plenty of vodka for everybody.
We give them
everything
1,000 grams of flour. Ginge.
Everybody get 2 pounds of flour and some vodka. You make bread from that."
An AK-47.
Yes. And bear. We drop 1 bear. You hunt bear, you eat bear, or bear eat you. Well, it worked itself out. Now,
the very hungry games.
Jesus Christ. They did prosecute around 80 guards and prisoners for cannibalism, looting, and assault. As for Velichko, he was thanked for his investigative work and then fired and kicked out of the Communist Party, mostly for daring to blame the administration for the failure of the resettlement program. He ended up working as a journalist through World War II, and there are rumors that he was executed in 1937 after being accused of counter-revolutionary activities, although there isn't any real evidence of this happening. If he was a journalist through World War II, it'd be kind of hard for him to be dead in 1937. There is conflicting information. Go with
He's
whatever you want to
like a what you call it, a time thingy. Doctor Who,
Back to the Future.
A Time Lord. So he is. He's a goddamn
we had
Time
a long
Lord.
discussion about Back to the Future in our pre-show. If you want to hear that, go sign up. Patreon.com/torturepod for a free week of our cult leader tier. So how did this information on Nazino come to light? Well, for the next 50 years, the Soviet Union would actively suppress any and all atrocities. Anything that made Stalin or his predecessors, Malenkov or Khrushchev, look bad were classified, buried away. Enter Mikhail Gorbachev, who became the last president of the Soviet Union in 1985, with the goal of perestroika and glasnost, or restructuring and openness. And with that came a policy of transparency. For the Soviet government to win back the trust of the public, they needed to acknowledge the truth of the past, which included access to historical and classified archives. So in 1988 and 1989, independent historians, journalists, and activists were allowed to examine reports from the Stalin era, including the long-buried Velichko report. This was when the public was finally made privy to the horrors of Nazino Island. Now, unfortunately, there's no real record of guards or survivors. I went looking for them. I couldn't really find. There's a few, but I couldn't really find a whole lot because it wasn't something like they took everybody's name down. It was you go and that's it.
One of them is now a 3-star Michelin barbecue chef.
We serve Korean beef. We swear it's beef. There is a memorial at Nazino, so there's that. But
it's right next to a burger joint.
Where again, the sign says, "We swear it's beef."
Made with 100% Russian beef. Nothing
beef
saying
is a guy
that
named
the 1% of beef content that is in here is 100% Russian.
That's right. Russian, maybe Ukrainian. The line gets blurred sometimes.
Yeah.
And if that's it. I mean, if you want more horrors from this, go find it yourself, I suppose. Dan, any pop culture?
There's a documentary called Cannibal Island.
Yes, which is never available in your area.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I looked it up on Prime, and it was like, well, this is not available in your area. I was like, well, what area is it available in? Probably Russia.
Probably. You imagine that's where they get it. But it's a French-made documentary, though.
No, maybe it's in France.
So,
Who knows?
Yeah, that's true.
Where
to stream Cannibal Island.
Get on that VPN.
It tells me it's on Apple TV Plus and Prime.
Not in your area, though.
That's true. Well,
because it might be on Apple TV Plus and Prime in France, and that'd be about it.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Goddamn crazy Russians. I double checked. I had a Google. Taylor Swift has not sang a song about this. Which
about
Nazino. I'm quite disappointed.
One of the criminals from Nazino breaking up with her, and she writes a song about it. Yeah.
Pretty much.
I don't think there's a whole lot of pop culture.
No, there's very little. Being honest with you, there's nothing really I can find. There's books, there's some documentaries. That's about it.
Yeah, there's always that line in pop culture where it gets too horrible for you to make a movie or a TV show or something about. because it is so graphic and because the atrocities and the human depravity is so great. Nobody wants to watch it. Nobody wants to consume that. Well, there are some, the people who are listening to this podcast would, but most people wouldn't. So they just don't make things about it. It's got to be really bad, but only to a point.
Yeah.
That's why some of the most horrible serial killers in history don't have movies or TV shows made about them, because they are just that fucking horrible. There's no Pee Wee Gaskins fucking TV show because of the horrible things he allegedly did. I say allegedly, not that he didn't do horrible things, but I think he made a lot of shit up. But that's another episode that we will do at some point. Anyway, thank you to our patrons, Willa Quinn Fowler and Sam Burr. It's too hard to pronounce. I can't pronounce it. What is it? Is it Brit? Sam, thank you. You can sign up as well at our Patreon, patreon.com/torturepod. Again, 1 week of our cult tier leader for free. Connect with us. Oh, I just had stuff come up in my throat. Connect with us on the socials at TorturePod. It's all the Russian speaking I've been doing today. It naturally makes your throat phlegmy, and now I can't talk correctly. Email torturepod@gmail.com. Buymeacoffee.com/torturepod if you want to donate to the show. Redbubble.com/people/torturepod for the merch. I got the new advocacy hat.
Nice.
All Pride merch donuts. Pride merch donuts.
Pride merch
all
donuts.
Pride merch profits donated to the Trevor Project. And the profits that I have from this will go to the Trevor Project. It'll be like, you donated 10 cents. Well, I mean, yeah, whatever. Go rate and review wherever you can. Thank you to our sponsors. You could support us by supporting them. Hint for our next episode. The Duke of Exeter's daughter, but, the opposite. Dan, any words of wisdom?
I was trying to think of something cannibal related, and I kind of drew blank.
Make sure you give them your name if you're going to sign up for an app that will tell you if your house is burning down.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. Yeah, fucking idiots. Yeah, well, look, whenever you have liver, make sure you have it with some fava beans and a nice Chianti. How about that?
Even though all you have is like grass and dirty river water.
And some flour.
And plenty of flour. Yeah. Fair enough. All right, well, that's it. Happy Pride Month, everybody. Enjoy it. If somebody tells you, well, it shouldn't be Pride Month, it should be Military Appreciation Month, tell them that was last month. They skipped it because they're fucking idiots. It is. I don't know about over in Ireland, but here in America, May is Military Appreciation Month. And then when June comes around and it's Pride Month, they're all like, oh, well, why does the military get a month? We only get a day. No, technically you get 2 months. You get May and November, and you get Veterans Day and Memorial Day. So, cram it up your a-hole.
Potato month. That's what it was.
Yeah. Why isn't there a potato month? Why isn't there a full month of just potatoes? I say that is every day at our house is potato day.
I'm straight. We actually eat more pasta here than potato, but yeah.
We eat a lot. Yeah, we do. Again, this food talk is for after the show. All right, everybody, take care of yourselves. Take care of one another. We'll see you.
Goodbye.